Welcome. You have found the show we call Real Men Don't Cry, or Do They? This is a podcast for men. And on this show, we will hear real-life stories from men about how they have navigated the complexities of being a man in this modern day. We are going to look at the boys don't cry way of thinking and how that has influenced them and how they have risen above societal pressures to be true to themselves. The focus of this show is men's real-world experiences, not just ideas and theories. I hope that you will learn from what they have discovered and use it in your life as well. Let's get into today's show. Hello, welcome to another episode of Real Men Don't Cry, or Do They? I'm Brandon Archer, and today I have with me Jamie. How do you say your last name? I actually should have asked you that before we started.
Jamie Rea. So I sound like a country singer who just got a DUI. Jamie Rea, like it all sounds, because people call it Rhea or Rhea, but Jamie Rea.
And that's what I thought. I'm just gonna do it. I'm just gonna ask you. So,
I love it,
dude. I'm so happy that you said yes when I invited you. You were still in Canada when I invited you. You're now in Australia, so I know you're taking time out of your trip to be here, and that's amazing. We met in online world, and I know you've probably met tons of people in online world over the years. You're one of the very
you and I met on.
Yeah. Shh.
You and I
We're
met
calling it Instagram. But like, I don't know about you, but I don't get to meet many of the people I meet on Instagram in person, but we have had that opportunity. That was super
great
cool.
Connection.
Yeah, man.
I love it. It's fucking awesome.
Yeah, it was awesome. Why don't you just kind of tell people in a little intro who you are and what you do?
100%, man. Well, first off, I want to say I feel that real men do cry. I have this whole thing that practice is when I cry, like don't wipe the tears, let them fall all the way to the floor. You know what I mean? So I let that shit come. Like when I got a tear coming, I want to turn in front of someone, fucking see that shit right there. See that man shit coming down. Deep feelings, just want to say that. But so I guess now I call myself a spiritual teacher, even though I hate most of the spiritual community and hate most spiritual people, and trying to kind of debunk all of that. But I work with men and women, and basically kind of in a nutshell of what I do is just I help people to move into their power, right? Whatever that may look like, move into the greatest possible expression of your soul. And I think just, even though I do call myself a spiritual teacher, my approach is that spirituality does not have to look a certain way. It can be fucking whatever you want it to be. We don't have to get up and meditate and, listen to every single John Wineland meditation to be, a spiritually embodied man or woman. We just have to because the thing about it, spirituality is just your relationship to your own fucking soul. So however you want to express yourself, whatever your truth is, whatever that shows up. And so that's basically just what I do with people, is just help people to step into their truth and don't bring that into a box, which is probably why it's perfect for this type of podcast, because whatever that looks like is fucking great. Just whatever your truth is, just bring it,
Fuck yeah. I mean, you nailed it. Spirituality is your relationship to yourself. Like, why are we making it more complicated than that?
Yeah, I feel
why does the ethos want to be like, you got to do this, 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 and this, and this? Well, yeah, for you, yes, bang on for you. But like when you put it in a box, I don't know, man. We could riff on that forever, but
Brendan, I feel it becomes a whole bunch of fucking ego shit, right? Where it's like it has to look a certain way, and we have our identity attached to it. Like spirituality is like you feel fucking naked, and you're like, well, what the fuck is going? Like, what am I doing? I'm so confused. I'm lost. I feel like a naked soul, fucking just blowing in the wind. I don't know what's happening. Like that's just what spirituality is, because then you can fucking create something from that point on. And all this practice, like I have zero spiritual practice. I don't care about any of that.
I love it. Okay, man. I would love to just pull on that string, but let's just hold tight. We'll come back to that one, because the show is like about guys' stories.
Yeah.
And we all have stories, and we very rarely actually share them, especially with what you and I do. I find I get a lot into the theory and how to help people.
Hmm.
Man, I just want to get, who are you? Who the fuck are you?
That's a big question. You know, who am I? I would say that I'm a complicated dude. I'm a complex person. I would say that I'm many different things. I'm a sensitive dude. I got a really dirty sense of humor. I'm really vulgar and really out there, but I'm really, a gentle spirit, I think, deep down. And I guess the best way to say that is like I've always felt when I was young, I was really, really sensitive, like really, really sensitive. Even the point I was kind of like bullied at certain times because I feel like sensitivity, particularly as a dude, is like a progressive emotion. You know what I mean? When you're sensitive and you're 15 and you cry home to your mommy, you know what I mean? It doesn't really go down too well, but it's like just wait till you're 25. Just wait till you're 25 and that sensitivity, you know what I mean? You're gonna get a spiritual chick all up and on that shit, you know? Um, and so I was kind of this I felt lost, man, honestly, like my whole life, really, until I kind of started to do some of my own work, which really wasn't until I was like 30. And so I was really like this sensitive dude who was lost. And I think what I wanted more than anything in the world was to capitalize on my potential. I think that
Hmm.
was always my biggest fear. Whereas, like, I think I always felt like this dude who had a lot of potential and talent, but somehow it never seemed to quite actualize in reality. And I think that was, I guess, one of my fears, one of my insecurities, maybe a source of shame was that I felt, I had all these feelings, very deep feeling, very sensitive, right? Had a lot of big dreams and goals, and I was worried that I wouldn't be able to bring that somehow into whatever I did. And then thankfully, with some of the healing work, is has helped me more in that process. But I honestly, man, to like really straight up, I think my whole life, really for so long, was just like a dude who was lost in a lot of ways.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing so much, man. See,
Of
I'm getting to
course,
know
man.
you. I'm getting to know you. So sensitive dude when you're 15. I can
Yeah,
actually relate. I can relate.
yeah.
How did you find your parents related to your sensitivity?
I think it was a combination of things. I think there was part of it. I think they related well to it, but also I think it reached a point where they didn't know what to do with it, right? And so it reached a point where it was like, this is too much. Like they wouldn't say that directly, but I think as a kid, and I think a big thing for me was feeling like I was a burden, right? Because I had a
Mm,
lot of anxiety as a kid. I was like part of like an anxiety study when I was a teenager where we talked about worry dragons and you know what I mean. I was had panic attacks, and so as a kid I was just so sensitive and felt so much, but I didn't really know what to do with it. And so I think a big thing for me and a big wounding point kind of through that was always feeling like I was a burden. And I think that came from, being sensitive, being anxious, and not being, obviously, being a kid, not having the skill set to be able to, you know, be with my emotions, not knowing what to do with them, and then kind of bringing that, I think, to my parents. And at some point, it's like, they were like, "What the fuck's wrong with this kid?" Right? Like he keeps going, and so I felt like a burden was probably the biggest thing that came from it, and not to a fault of my parents, but just to a point where there was that much going on that it reached a point where they just didn't know what to do.
yeah. Who specifically your dad? I'm super curious about this as I'm listening to you because
Yeah,
generally moms can like tune into the sensitivity. How is your dad like helping you manage all the big feelings?
yeah. Well, the really interesting thing about my dad is that he's super, super patient. And with actually all this stuff that was going on, I would say he was more patient than my mom. with everything that was happening. Like I remember, um, as I was a kid, like I was like scared of the night, and my dad would like sit next to me on the bed until I fell asleep. Right? Like so very like my dad very, very sensitive. And like I know that he struggled with depression, anxiety, and different things. So he's very both my parents are very, very sensitive, which is probably why when they fuck and they make me, I'm
You
I get
just the
this.
writing was on the wall, man.
Oh, I was just like, this kid was gonna be fucking just like a piece of stardust or something, you know what I mean? Um, but yeah, and so my dad was really, really patient. And so he actually responded really, really well to it. You know what I mean? Because I think I was a kid who like wanted a lot of reassurance. And it's funny because I think about myself as a kid, and I think about a kid that had so many like insecurities and so many sources of shame because I was so feeling based, right? And it makes sense for what I went into later in life. But it was just I was just like so raw and like I was like I'm gonna answer your question, but I remember like I couldn't swallow properly, and I had to um, learn how to swallow with the tongue on the roof of my mouth. And so I went to a place, this lady who lived in this fucking basement, and she would feed me Teddy Grahams, and I had to learn how to. I would chew them up, put the tongue on the roof of my mouth, and swallow them because I used to press my tongue out, which would push my teeth forward. And I think that sums up what I was like as a kid. I was like a fucked up kid. You know what I mean? Like had all these weird idiosyncrasies. And I think about that a lot. And I also think with my dad that he was patient, but he was really, really passive. So it wasn't
Patient
like
but
he,
passive. Hmm.
yeah, where it was like for him, he was feeling a lot, but he wouldn't necessarily like show me, if you want to talk about the whole thing, like show me how to be a man. Like there was all these things that he had that he didn't really show me, but he was very, very patient with my process, which is actually interesting.
Yeah. Is there anything this question, don't, I know you won't take it wrong, but is there anything you wish you had done differently to support you?
100%. Yeah, just be like,
What
"Ye-
what would you have liked
take
him to do?
take me out and show me like this is what we're gonna do. You know what I mean? Actually take the assertion role of showing me how to do things and kind of not giving you a choice. Because my dad would be like, "Yeah, do this." Oh, fuck off, dad. I don't want to do that. You know what I mean? And then so through that, it was like I think I had too much freedom. I had too much freedom, was able to do too much of what I wanted to do. And what happens in that, obviously, you don't really learn that sort of masculine container from a young age, that sort of discipline, that sort of work ethic, that hard work. And these are things that I've had to kind of learn to cultivate as an adult, as I've kind of gone on my healing journey. But yeah, I wish he took a more active role and being like, "Come on, get in the truck. Get in the truck. We're gonna go do this." I didn't have that, right?
Hmm. I imagine the patience helped a lot, though.
Yeah. I think well, Brandon, I think what happened with me is that I think the patience, like I think something that I can really say, which is really cool, and I'm really proud. I feel really safe with my dad. I feel like really safe, like telling him anything. Um, And so I think it allowed me to express the way that I express, which is probably the greatest thing that came out of my childhood was my capacity to be confident in my expression, no matter what that was. And then with the shadow of that was kind of some of those traditional masculine qualities, like to be
Mm.
really disciplined, um, hard work, even though I am hardworking, but it took my own process, right, to get there. And so I lacked some of those traditional qualities because of the having a father that was passive versus like, this is what we're going to do. I'm going to show you how to do this. There's kind of no choice in the matter. So it was a bit more feminine energetics, in my upbringing as opposed to that tough love. I probably needed more tough love. I was hugged too much as a child. I was told I was special too much. That was my problem.
Isn't it funny, man, how we just as humans can't seem to find the fucking center? We're a
Yeah.
pendulum. We're like either one way or the other. It's like, fuck, let's just figure out balance. But we're just not
100
good at it.
100%, right? Well, it's we're either, I think when we think of childhood, it was either like too warm or too cold, right? And it's like you want an upbringing ideally in the most fucking perfect sense where it's like you're hugged and told you're special, but it's like get the work, motherfucker. Like, go fucking, shovel that shit out of the barn. I needed more of that. I needed to someone give me a shovel and be like, you got to go shovel this shit, Jamie.
Yeah. I guess, I've kind of concluded that this is just the journey of a human being is you're not going to get parented the way you needed
No.
and kind of a rite of I don't talk a ton about this, but it's like a rite of passage into adulthood. Like you got to figure that shit out. What you didn't get,
Hmm. Hmm.
that's part of your healing and your spirituality. Like it's, in my opinion, anyway.
Well, Brandon, like that's what fucking spirituality is to me. It's just healing, right? It's just healing, but I think it involves a lot of different things. And so I'm actually now where I'm at, I'm grateful for the way that I was raised because it gave me gifts and it gave me shadow, right? And so the shadow has obviously been my journey of my healing so that I can take the gifts that I've been given and try to bring those into the world because that becomes a way that I can bring light and kind of be of service. But until you sort of integrate the shadow of that, your gifts are a little bit like an Achilles heel, right? Until you kind of integrate the shadow. And so for me, learning things like, discipline, hard work, very sort of like linear masculine shit, you know what I mean? Boundaries, how to not be a people pleaser, how to say, no, I don't want to do that, how to be direct. That has been my journey. And obviously, I still have so far to go, but it's like night and day where I was. And in doing that, it's allowed me to bring some more of the gifts, some of the really great things about how I was raised into the world as part of my mission.
Yeah. I love it, man. The
Mm,
sensitivity part, as a man, as a male in North American society, I have seen it a ton. Like you see my son, he's 18 now, and
right.
fucking hell was he sensitive when he was smaller.
Yeah.
And, I never judged him on it. I was just like, whoa. And it caused me, I don't know what you found, to kind of look into, um, boys and emotions and what we do as a society. The
Yeah.
thing is, man, most boys are sensitive. We tell them to
Yeah.
shut up and suck it up.
Yeah. I
It's
think
pretty
I think
fucked.
it is, man. And I think we need to, so this is where I've kind of come in this journey, and it's pretty fucking amazing, Brandon. I don't know about you, but when you learn, like I'm so tapped into my anger now, and I'm so tapped into my fucking boundaries, but I'm a sensitive motherfucker. When you marry those two together, holy shit, is it a potent concoction? Because you're harnessing and you're giving space to your sensitivity, but you're learning to sit with the like huge breadth of the emotions that you have. And, people ask me to do something like, fuck no, I don't want to do that. I'm able to be direct. And so I have this kind of like rage tapped into like this very directive masculine energy now, but I'm a sensitive, like little fairy, like in my heart. And, I have this little gooey heart. Like I watch fucking Notting Hill and I bawl my eyes out. I watch Dawson's Creek and I just sob, you know, I'm just like, I'm very emotional. I cry all the time, but I'm very tapped into this directive sort of masculine energy now. And it's a beautiful, I know we're not going to use fucking coachy words, but I guess synergy or alchemy of those two pieces. And that's why it's like, Brandon, you see these people talk about sensitivity and they're like, well, you're a highly sensitive person. It's like sensitive people need to learn how to say no. They need to learn how to say boundaries and tap into, that rage and that anger to be able to protect their sensitivity. Otherwise, they're just going to like have a fucked up gut. They're going to have chronic health issues. They're going to take on other people's stuff, other people's emotions. I always use this term like the ego of empathy, where we take on other people's stuff and we think it's this great big trait or blessing that we do that when really what it is that we have no boundaries.
Yeah, totally.
you
So
know
can I assume in your 20s you had no boundaries?
Oh God, man. Like I think I only had boundaries starting a couple years ago. I think
So,
me and boundaries are still on the honeymoon stage. Um, but it's yeah, like I have this thing right now where it's like as part of my healing the people pleaser, when people ask me to do something, it's like, Jamie, you want to go to this party in front? I'm like, fuck no, not with you. Or people are like, do you want to hang out with these people? I'm like, no, I really do not like those people. Like they make my fucking balls shrivel up. Like I'm just overly as a way. Obviously, I don't actually say those type things to people, but
wow.
I'm just,
I
but
was hoping you did.
well, I do sometimes. Like, if one of my good friends is like, "Why have you texted me back?" It's because I've been fucking avoiding you because I'm like holding on to like a lot of shit, and I'm being kind of passive aggressive about it. But it's my way of like actively healing the people pleaser because obviously like I've healed massive aspects of the people pleaser, but I still notice it come up when I'm still have to have a direct conversation. I still get a bit nervous and obviously avoid conversations sometimes. Um, before getting to them. But yeah, me and boundaries are just kind of got together,
Yeah,
you
they're
know?
tricky. They're fucking tricky, man. I was, how old was I? It was probably a decade ago, so just before I was 40. I'm like,
Yeah.
what do you mean? I got to start saying no to people. And like you say no, and you're like vibrating inside, and you're like, what's going on? Like, and but it's just so necessary, especially for people that are people pleasers, people that
Mm,
men that are really sensitive or emotional or tapped into their emotions. I find generally they're people pleasers,
yeah.
and it usually
Yeah.
backfires. And I know I've worked with guys that they are like, one guy's a Marine. He's a fucking Marine and super big heart, super nice guy, and just couldn't say no to anybody.
Mm,
And he
wow.
was a fucking hot mess. And as he like steps into some structure, some masculine structure, he's like this boss now. Like he's still sensitive as ever, big heart, but he's like, nope. And people around him are like, who is this like fucking dude? Like, who is this powerhouse? I'm like,
Wow.
I think a man that has those big emotions or is sensitive, I think we have an advantage, to be honest, to get
So
to
do
this
I.
more balanced place. I feel really deeply for the guys who are on straight up lockdown and they don't even know what
Mm,
their emotions are. I actually have a
mm,
ton of empathy for that. I'm like, I don't know how you get through the day, man. Like that doesn't make any sense. Like
yeah.
you literally can't feel anything because you turned it off. So I just share that because I find it interesting as you like find your boundaries and put them into place and the structure for your big
Hmm.
emotions and sensitivity. It sounds like you're feeling more powerful.
Dude, like, I love that you say that because I would always look at guys who had, I would say when I have a lot of feminine, but I have a lot of masculine. I'd say I'm very balanced. um, in terms like I have a masculine core, but I would say that I also I'm not one of those dudes who's like hyper masculine, right? I was one of those guys who could go shopping with women, or I could hang out with guys who played lacrosse. You know what I mean? Like I was so like I can work in so many different environments because I have a lot of feminine, but I also have so much masculine energy. And I always kind of envied those dudes who felt really hyper masculine, who just like real "Ugh," like that kind of brute mass because that wasn't me. That was never me. But the thing is, as I've tapped into more healing, I'm like, oh shit, I actually am kind of like that. You know what I mean? As I've gotten fucking boundaries and I'm like, whoa. So I'm like this sensitive, emotionally tapped in dude who's like a boundary boss and like is direct as fuck. And it's been this crazy thing. And for me, a big healing thing because I come from like a mama's boy kind of mother wound. I mean, and father wound. Fuck, we all both, right? But a lot of this mesh with my feminine sort of imprint, and I'm so boundaried with women now, which has been the big healing piece, where it's like I'll challenge women in loving ways. And that has been that's completely changed my life. That is nothing has put me more in my masculine energy than um, being able to be like to a woman, like, no, that doesn't work for me. You know, This doesn't work for me. And that level of discernment is been completely life changing. And I'm so grateful for my sensitivity now because I have that merged with like a very direct masculine core now. And it feels like, this kind of just merging of just two very different, varied pieces that gives you like a huge wide spectrum and allows you to
Yes.
be this direct masculine dude, but then you're in a relationship, you can hold space like a motherfucker to a woman. You know what I mean? You can
Yeah.
attune to her energetically, but you also have this very direct masculine core. And so I'm so grateful for coming from this sensitivity imprint because now with my healing, I'm like, holy shit, I am that like hyper masculine dude coming together with that sensitive boy.
I agree with you because even when you look at, I don't know how much you get into it, but childhood development,
Hmm.
our parents both play a role, but the early years are your mom.
Hmm.
And then kind of as a boy, when you hit kind of 12 roughly, your
Hmm.
dad's kind of supposed to take the reins. And I
Hmm.
think strongly if a man doesn't look at his mother wound or his feminine first,
Hmm.
and you try to address the masculine first, I've seen it, man. It becomes toxic.
Dude,
It's these guys. It's these guys that are like, put this. I have this analogy of suit of armor, and
yeah,
you can very well like find masculinity or a men's group, and it's all like, holy shit, I'm putting on this suit of armor. I feel like a badass motherfucker. Yeah,
cool
but
plunge,
the
yeah.
but the inside, the body that
The
has to
nervous
carry this
system.
suit of armor, your nervous system, your feminine, your
Yeah.
mother wound isn't ready for it. And it fucking cracks. And I watch these
Mhm.
guys and I'm like, what the fuck's going on? And it took me a while to figure it out. I'm like, this like father wound shit, yes, but no, you can't treat just half the human. You can't
Yeah.
do it. It doesn't
Yeah.
work.
Yeah. Brandon, and this was one of the things you and I bonded on initially. And so, like, I work with men and women, and when I work with men, because the feminine goes first. So my whole approach is taking people in their masculine, is dealing with the feminine first and feminine chords, because what you see in a lot of men's groups is guys who are addressing their masculine energy, but they haven't dealt with like the energy body, the trauma, the nervous system, the all this sort of the unconscious wounding. And what happens is, yeah, you can be in your masculine when you're in a men's group, who rah rah, but then you get in an intimate relationship and you're not in your fucking masculine, really in a deep, deep, intimate sense, right? Because you still have these deep attachment cords to deep wounds with the feminine, like deep trauma, wounding. And so, what I kind of see the feminine is when you deal with the feminine, you're unlocking your full capacity for that masculine primal feral motherfucker, that kind of that masculine rage. So much of even just getting in your masculine energy is dealing with your feminine because you're unlocking the beast when you because basically like your dick belongs to your mom until you heal that shit and then you kind of get your dick back, right? So like half your dick is your mom's until you actually do that work and then you get your full dick, right? And then you're able to kind of go into the world with your full power. And you and I bonded on that because we had that same approach to it. Because that feminine is like going down fully into the body to meet all your shit. And that's like what I learned. And I was like, whoa, this feels counterintuitive to what people are talking about with how to go into your masculine.
Yeah. Uh, People are trying to go too fast to get to their
Mm,
masculine, right? Like, slow the fuck down, everyone.
mm, mm,
Healing takes time.
mm. It's so
You're
it's so
if
fucking
if you're 40 and you figure this shit out, sorry, like in 6 months, not something's gonna start to move, but it takes longer than that. It just does. And I know I
yeah,
didn't want to hear that. I was fucking like, I got told with my anxious attachment slash mother wound, yeah,
yeah,
this will take 7 years. And I'm like, fuck off. I don't want to hear that. Guess where I'm
yeah.
at right now? It's about year 7 since I got told
And
that. And I'm like,
noticing a
fuck.
difference.
Oh, I'm like, I got me now. Like, I feel actually, I'll share this with you.
Yeah.
I just went 2 weeks ago to see my mom after about 8 years of estrangement, because when I figured out my wounding around my mom, I cut all ties because it was just toxic for me.
Right.
And I just went and saw her and kind of did a reconnect. So that told me on my journey, okay, something's happening where I'm not resentful towards her anymore. Like, it's time to go and see what could be with that. So that was pretty rad.
Wow.
But that, like, the length of time
Yeah.
when I started the journey, I did not want to hear that.
Mm.
But now that I'm kind of at that 7-year mark, I'm like, yeah, okay, that made sense.
Good
And I
for
just
you,
share
man.
that because, like, I don't want to fool guys. I know you don't want to fool people. Like, if you get on this journey, hang on. Like, it's not just like 3 months working with you or me or a video course. It's like, it's a lifestyle change.
Yeah, it's your whole life, man. I love that, and thank you for sharing that with me, Brandon. But I love that because it feels almost poetic, and you're actually ready to receive love. You're actually ready to receive the feminine, right? Because if you think about it, like, how do you know you're ready to receive love from the feminine? You're ready to receive your mother's love in not the childlike, wounded way. There's like been a shift in that, because think about, like receiving love from the feminine is receiving your mother's love. That is
Yeah.
ultimately what it is. And then when you've actually healed that and you can actually open your heart to receiving it in a different way, you're actually ready for your fucking queen or your goddess or whatever it might be. And so that's beautiful that you've reached that point. It feels very poetic for that.
Yeah. And the way I didn't want to receive love from my mom the way that she was capable of giving it to me. I needed more. I wanted more. But
Mm,
as and I alluded it to it, that that's kind of our rite of passage to being a
mhm,
man, is you got to figure that shit out and provide it for
mhm,
yourself.
mhm,
And now I'm like, see my mom as a human being that did her fucking best and's got her own shit,
mhm, mhm.
because I rejected everything that she wanted to give me. And like, that's like, you can't do that. That
Yeah,
doesn't make sense.
yeah. Brandon, I always feel like the space between the love that our parents give us and what they weren't able to is the space they left for us so we could become our own hero.
Oh, fuck. We're going to cut that clip out of. That's a beauty, man.
Yeah, and so it's healing codependency is about seeing the reality of our parents and about accepting the reality, right? And
Mm,
allowing that reality to live true and being able to receive the love, as you say, and the capacity and capability that they're able to. And then in that space becomes the work, becomes the passage, becomes the journey. And in that, we learn that we can provide everything for ourselves. So we're completely full on our own. And then we find another partner, another person at some point becomes an amplification of that. But we become this kind of sovereign being on our own terms. And so, yeah, like the ways that our parents weren't able to love us are the ways that they left for us so we can learn to love ourselves and, awaken the hero or the heroine on that path.
where's that shown up for you?
I mean, so a big thing is with not being able to, right, coming from the passive imprint of a father and being able to move into that directive masculine with myself and being able to create that container for myself. Um, Also recognizing the ways that my ego was involved, right? Because coming from, a mom who, a little more of that helicopter style, like she would allow you to do whatever you want, but just kind of coming into your space led to me not having boundaries. And so creating fucking boundaries and becoming a boundary badass, like, created the space for me to now work with all those pieces, right? So boundaries actually allowed me the space to begin to heal that wound with the feminine. Ways that my ego needed validation, my ego needed approval, right? Where I no longer need that. And in creating those boundaries, I'm able to become the hero of my story. I love to think of it like, in this next year, this next season, how could you show up for yourself if it was like a fucking movie, right? And it's that point in a movie between the second and third act, when that sort of montage comes on and like the main characters beginning to get it all together. You know what I mean? They're kind of getting their life together. If you were to think of your life right now, like, what would that be? Like, what would that look like? And I think usually we do have kind of an idea, right? And that would be our higher self, or us in our greatest power. And that's what I'm always thinking of. And how can I create this space for myself to be in that? And I think for me, it's been about learning to be on my own island by myself, right? Because you become boundary with the feminine, you have a lot of discernment with the feminine. You're not like allowing those little ego hits. You're like, that works for me, that doesn't work for me, right? And then I'm being very directive with myself, really holding a masculine container. Um, and in that, it's healing both the mother wound and the father wound, and allowing me to feel whole, allowing me to really, really have a strong foundation, where these days it's kind of like I don't really recognize myself, just because of just where I've arrived inside myself.
Yeah, that's so cool.
you know
How do you find people are around you are reacting to your boundaries?
well, I'll speak to women that I've noticed, like, fighting a lot against it. Like, it's at the point that I've noticed a lot, let's say in the past year, with women, where they kind of throw a hissy fit around it. They're kind of like, they get angry, like they really don't like it. They're kind of like, you're an asshole. They really, but then after the fact, they're like, I fucking love it. Right? They're like, oh my God, I love it. It's like I've had women say to me, like, you're the most boundary masculine I've ever met. And I'm like, for me, coming from where I came from, I'm like, what the fuck is going on?
You're like looking around. Are they talking to the guy behind me? Like,
Yeah,
what's
it's
going?
like, they're like, you have so much masculine energy. And I'm just like, you know, I'm the type of guy who would choose past relationships that would be like surrogate mothers, right? Where, I was more my feminine, the women were a little more in their masculine. Um, and so coming from that imprint, 2023 was a lot about healing a lot of that. And then I just noticed with guys, I'm okay with people being pissed off at me. It's really interesting. I'm like, I want people to be pissed off at me. Honestly, Brendan, I want people to be like, I love it. Like, even just on social media, um, I really notice them on social media because I post very directly, and I love it when people hate it. I love it when people are angry at me. Like, I feel so calm and regulated in that space, because I just vibrationally, I feel strong and secure in my foundation now, which is, it just feels really good to be in that place. Obviously, I have so far to go. This is an endless fucking journey. I'm probably gonna meet some woman who's just gonna fucking destroy me,
Yeah,
but
totally.
for right now, it feels I'm on a good track. And I think in a lot of ways my little boy would be proud of the progress, even though there's so
Yeah,
much more to go.
it's all about balance, right? And that the
Hmm.
sensitivity and the boundaries of the masculine. Like, I'll share a little story from
Hmm.
somebody I dated a couple years ago. It was like the second or third date. I was working through some issues around my dad, some internal stuff. Saw her on a
Hmm.
Saturday afternoon. She's like, "How was your morning?" I was like, "Well, I got this stuff going on with my dad. I had a huge cry, and I'm here." And she's just like, "What? What the
Hmm.
fuck?" Like, nobody actually says that. Later on
Hmm.
in the relationship, she's like, "You are such a man."
Hmm.
Which, I mean, what guy doesn't want to hear that?
Oh God, you
And
fucking get hard
oh,
off that shit.
oh,
I
goddamn, it was
I just
amazing.
fucking
And
squirted in my pants.
but I just share that for the balance. Like, I had hit a new balance, and it felt fucking good. I could be
Hmm.
emotional. I could share what I was
Hmm.
feeling and what I was going through. And there's this structure and this masculine and this direction. It's mostly
Hmm.
direction for me that I think I was exuding. And it was like, oh fuck, what would you call the opposite of kryptonite?
Uh, Blessing, power. Like
It
what?
was magnetic. Like, it was
Okay.
magnetic for her.
Mm,
Like kryptonite, I use that when I'm talking to guys about like, oh, your woman feels like that's kryptonite. This was the
Mm,
opposite. She was like drawn to that balance.
mm,
It was fucking rad. I still have like chinks in my armor, and like the old like anxiousness would show up once in a while, but I just share that because it's so cool for guys out there listening. You
mhm,
guys can get there. Like wherever you are at today, you've seen changes in how women react to you. I've seen it. It's
mhm.
worth it. It's 100% worth it.
It's worth the work, man, because there's nothing. And Brandon, like I think you'll be able to relate to this. Like I'm so grateful for coming from the imprint of this hypersensitive boy and now stepping into more this directive masculine, because it feels like just this merging of both worlds where I can play in arenas where I can be very discerning and directive. And this is where it's like women are like the bad boy or the asshole. They like the directive masculine energy. The nice guy, they like the emotionality, but then he doesn't have the directiveness, and the asshole doesn't have um the emotional attunement and the energetic attunement. But it's like this is like the healthy sort of masculine merging of both those pieces where you're like attuned, but if you fuck with me, I'm going to be really really direct with you and I'm going to call you out, right? And they're like,
Yeah.
what is this energy? Because he'll hold space like one of her girlfriends, right? Like this guy's so fucking emotional and tuned in, but then he has this like really, really deep masculine core. And I feel like there's no greater barometer than how women respond to you, than where you're at with your masculine energy. The feminine body, particularly the embodied feminine body, is the greatest sort of telltale mark of where you stand with your masculine energy. And so when you really get in that space, you'll just notice that women are in your orbit. That women, they're like there's something Sarah, something's going on here. You notice that? Something's going on with this guy. I don't know. He's got this like big dick energy, but he's like in his emotions, and it's kind of this idea of like feral emotion, like primal sort of expression, right? Where you're in the synergy of both those pieces, and it's amazing to be able to see that, right? Because it's just
Yeah,
it's seeing healing in action, and makes all the shit, all the shadow work worth it.
totally. And an aspect of the shadow work and what you're talking about too is sexual energy. And if you
Mm,
address the sexual shadow, the way I liken it is you have to look at that dark, fucked up part of yourself, those
mhm.
fucked up thoughts that you think are wrong,
Mhm,
befriend them, be okay with them, put them in a cage because now you
mhm,
have access to this like fucking primal shit
mhm,
that women just don't know what to do with when you bring it out because most
mm,
men ignore that.
mm,
And then you show up passive or you show up scared to like tap
mhm.
into that energy.
Yeah, yeah. Brandon, I love this. Like the way I liken someone's relationship to their power is their relationship to their rage. When people are afraid of their
Mm,
power, they're afraid of their anger. So for men to be in that fucking primal, like feral fucking beast, it's all about his relationship to his anger and how he's grounded his anger, right? Because think about anger is like construction. You're building something. You're building a man's container, which is just how he moves through the world. With you can tell this man is a container is his relationship to his anger, where women are around him and they're like, I can feel his cock, but it doesn't feel boundary invasive. Means he's not leaking that energy, but she can feel it. She knows it's there, but he's in that, in a very pure connection to it, and now you can feel that container, right? And that's where you become fucking potent. That's where like you're building your mission, you're creating it where women are drawn to you. Um and and so we so much of it, I think, as men, is learning to be in our rage, learning the root of that rage. That's why, like, when I love when a man's angry and he gets angry at me. It's like, oh god, feel your fucking dick. I love it. You know what I mean? I just like, I love feeling masculine energy now, and I think for me, I used to be more timid around it, but I just love it. Like, it riles me up, you know. Just being able to feel that fire, just being able to feel
yeah.
that like primal energy.
In my men's group last night that I run, this guy was pissing me off and he just wouldn't shut up. And I told him,
Yeah.
you need to shut up. You're pissing me off. And I don't
Mm,
usually run my groups that way.
yeah.
And that used to rattle me. I wouldn't have been able to come back down to grounded as quick as I did as last night.
Mm,
But seeing how the other guys reacted to that was super
Mm,
fucking fascinating. A couple of them have seen me do it once or twice, and now they're
mhm,
like, "Fuck yeah, I love it when like you do that." So
mm,
it's super interesting that as I believe as sensitive guys or people pleasers, we shy away from that shit. It's like,
mm,
ooh, he's angry. Oh, I should like get out of here. That's
mhm,
bullshit. That's total bullshit.
mm. I totally agree. I think at that point you're actually creating something. At that point you're actually creating something with that energy. That's why it's like when, oh, he's passive. No, men aren't passive. He's just unhealed. He just hasn't got
Yeah.
in touch with that directiveness. Like I think by nature, when we really root and ground that rage, we're all assertive, we're all directive, we're all like, this is how it's gonna go, this is what I want to do. And I'm very much in a season of my life right now where it's like, no, I'm not doing that. This is what I'm fucking doing. It's like really like staking claim in your life, whether that's relationally, whether that's with career, whether that's with community. It's like, that's a fuck yes in my body, or no, fuck no, I'm not even going anywhere near that. And it's being really, really discerning of what energy is for you. And I love that people, the men in your men's group are kind of getting turned on by that. Like, oh, fuck yeah. Like,
Well, they're
let's
getting
fucking
used to
go.
it now. The first
Yeah.
couple times they were like, "Oh shit, what just happened?" But now they've
Right.
seen it probably twice, and they're
My
like,
dad's in the
"Oh,
room. It's
yeah, exactly." Um,
fuck.
yeah, and that's the type of man the world needs.
Yeah.
Like it's
Yeah.
simple. It's not
The
rocket
world needs
science.
us, Brandon, and sensitive
Yeah,
men who have just fully gone into their erect cocks. You know what I mean? And just brought the fire all the way down. And I think just the world does need um the deeply emotional, sensitive man with that directive core, because I think that's going to, I mean, allow the feminine to be seen, allow the feminine to be revered, right? Because so much of that is when you go with the feminine first in your body, you're able to revere the feminine in such a way where you can appreciate her gifts and her oracle, and you don't need to capture her or withhold her. She could be completely free and wild in her expression, but yet you're not going to be a punching bag to her or allow her to emasculate or disrespect you, and you're going to be boundaried with her, and that sort of combination is going to I think allow things to really progress for both men and women.
yeah. I've really seen some of the guys in my men's group hit that space where they're like, "Wait a minute, woman, no, that's not okay anymore." And they were just a punching bag before, but they're hitting a new
Hmm.
space. And the women in their lives are like going, "Oh, shit, where's this version you've been? Because that's the version I need."
Hmm.
Okay, man, I'm watching the clock and I had a feeling we'd get like wanting to talk forever, but I'm
Yeah.
going to start to kind of
Wind it down.
wind it down here. And
Hmm.
I got two questions for you to end it out.
Hmm.
What message do you have for a previous version of yourself?
That's a big one, Brandon. What message? Huh. I'll just speak to what's coming with me right now. It begins with this idea of everything's going to be okay, and trust this unfolding of the process. So the other week or last week, I just one of those moments where I was like, just in the morning, having my coffee, right, getting ready for the day. And I was just like, it was almost brought me to tears because I was so in such deep gratitude for the path that brought me here, for where I'm at, and, you know, where I'm at in more of an energetic, emotional, embodied sense. And I just so much gratitude and kind of seeing how everything was orchestrated and winding to here in my purpose. And so, kind of this idea of everything's going to be okay, to trust the process, to trust this greater unfolding. And in a way, that comes to my relationship that I've created with kind of source and higher power and the divine. Um, everything's going to be okay, and to trust the process. And because I just have this immense gratitude where I'm so happy and almost in awe of where I've arrived at inside of myself, internally. And now I feel I'm at a point in my life where it's beginning to create a lot more that's going to substantially show up in the external world. But I've done so much of the internal heavy lifting. And so I just have this immense deep gratitude. And so that's what I would say, something along those lines.
That's beautiful. Yeah, it's beautiful, man. What closing message would you like for men listening? What would you like them to know?
Be messy. Be messy. Be really, really fucking messy. Be raw and just let it all fucking go. Like, do that thing without knowing how to do it. Do things wrong. Just throw shit out there. Just go. Just fucking do it. Because I learned when I allowed myself to be messy is when my masculine started to come online. When I allowed myself to be messy, it's like claim your stake in life. You're on fucking antidepressants, fucking claim it, motherfucker. You are working through a lot of grief, fucking claim it. Because you need somewhere to start. So it's like, I think a powerful stance for men is wherever you are in life, fucking claim every inch of where you are. Every fucking inch, because then you can build. Without that sort of honest revelation, you can't go anywhere.
I agree.
Jamie,
I'm so appreciative that you said yes to having a conversation with me. Where can people find you if they want to get a hold of you or find out more what you do?
Yeah, man. The best place would be just Instagram. I don't know if you're going to include Instagram, but I can just say it, even though it's one of those Instagrams that's fucking annoying to speak out loud. But it's at.
No.
Are you
totally
going to
have the
include
link in the bio?
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I guess people just scroll down Instagram.
They'll just scroll down. That's how you get a hold of them. Yeah, sure.
Get a hold of me. You can check me out. You can be like, yeah, this guy, I fucking hate this guy, or I like this guy. You can kind of get a little sample of what I'm about. So that's the best way to find me. And Brandon, buddy, happy we got to jam. Even though I can't even see your face, it's been tough because I'm like, is he done speaking? Because I can't really see your mouth. I don't know if you find the same thing.
Really?
Yeah.
No, you just look like a Minecraft character, which is so weird that I'm blurry. I can see everything. You just look like a Minecraft character.
Yeah, because I was trying to is Brandon continuing that thought?
Done.
Is it my turn to fucking speak here? What's even going on right now?
All good. Okay, man, this was fantastic, and I think men are really going to get benefit out of it. So thanks for your time and your knowledge.
I love it, Brandon. See you later, buddy.
Thanks for taking the time to be here today. I honestly hope you found something you can use in your life. And I hope you found some relief in knowing that you're not the only one with challenges. We can be very isolated as men. If you don't have support in your life, please reach out to someone. It's okay to need help. It doesn't mean that you're less of a man. In fact, it takes a courageous man to know when it's time to ask for guidance. Until next time, brother.